Hey beloved, welcome back to my channel. My name is Krista Pettiford and I'm here to share this word with you. It's a prophetic word and it's a word that the Lord gave me the other night in prayer. This video is being released on Sunday, but the Lord gave me this word on Christmas Eve. I was up and I was praying about something and the Lord spoke to me and I was asking him, to Lord, do something about it. And he said, you speak to it. And he said, you say, peace, be still. And I said it, and I realized that there was more to what he was saying. So I went and found the verse where he says this. And there's only one verse where he says this in the New Testament, and it is Mark chapter 4, verse 39. And I said, Lord, what is in this verse? Because it sounds more forceful. And he said, it is. And so I looked up the words, peace, be still. And let me read the verse to you and tell you what it means. Then he arose and rebuked the wind, chapter 4, verse 39, and said to the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But he said to them, why are you so fearful? Speaking to his disciples. How is it that you have no faith? And they feared exceedingly and said to one another, who can this be that even the wind and the sea obey him? So he spoke a command. And what I found when I looked up the word peace, it is a word that means, this particular word means involuntarily, to shut up involuntarily, to involuntarily be made to be quiet, to have your disruption. If something is being disruptive or being a disturbance, they are being involuntarily stopped or shut up. To involuntarily be quiet, where the opposite of that, the other word for peace, when Jesus says, hold your peace in many verses, that means to voluntarily not speak, to voluntarily be quiet, to be still. There's another peace that is the rest, the peace, the quietness, the undisturbedness of God in your soul and your surroundings. But there is a peace where he says, hold your peace. That means don't speak and be quiet. But when you say peace, when he said peace in this one, it means to command something to shut up, to not speak, to stop their disturbance and their disruption. It says involuntary, which is the opposite of the other piece, which is voluntarily to do it. And then this be still means it's opposite of, quiet and to hush. It means to muzzle. So basically he was saying, shut up and don't speak anymore. Shut up and don't have any more disturbances. So the wind and the sea were raging. Let me go back up a little bit further. And other little boats were also with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat on the boat, into the boat, so that it was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on a pillow. And they awoke him and said, Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? So the winds and the wave were coming. It was a storm that was blowing. And he spoke to it. And he said, stop. Shut up and don't say anything else. Shut up and don't do anything else. Stop what you're doing and don't do anything else. That's what he said. And so sometimes if it's a thing, a spirit, a thing that's happening, you say, peace, be still. If it was a person, he would have been saying, shut up and don't say anything else. But it was the winds and the sea. And he said, peace, be still. It was not a nice, be at peace and be calm and be still. No, it was forcing the sea and the wind to involuntarily, he arrested it, basically, involuntarily told it, you cannot do it. No, okay, he voluntarily did it, but the wind and the sea had to involuntarily come under the command and stop and cease and not go and not do anything else. And so there's something in your life that you need to speak to. Like I needed to speak to something and say, peace, be still. It's not an ask. It's not a whine. It's a command. It is saying, shut up and don't say anything else. Shut up and don't speak no more. You will not disturb me. I take authority over you and what you're saying or what you're doing or the thoughts that are coming or whatever it is. And I am muzzling you so that you can't speak anymore. He muzzled. That means the word be still. The phrase be still means to muzzle. And again, peace means to enforce involuntary quietness on something that is disturbing you, to make it stop speaking, to make it stop disrupting. And so you're forcing it on them and they don't want to. So, but the wind and the waves had to obey him. And he told me that I had the authority, and that I, instead of asking him to do it, that I was to speak to it and say, peace, be still. And I didn't get up and do a whole bunch of praying. I was laying on my pillow. I said it, and then I read what he meant with the word, the fullness of the word, because I heard it in my spirit and I knew he was saying something different. So I had to go look up the word because I'm a wordsmith. I want to know what the scriptures mean. And I went on to sleep, and it was peace and it was still. And so I am saying that because we talked about this being a pay year. If you watch me in the prophetic decade, the word over the decade is pay, which means mouth, to speak, to say. And in this PEY decade, we're going to have to take authority over some things. We're going to have to speak some things into existence. We're going to have to command some things to go. And so he reminded me that I have the authority, and instead of asking him to handle it, that he has given me the authority to do it. And so this is not just about you saying peace, be still to what's disturbing you, what's disturbing your peace, your quietness and rest in your soul. It's not about you just muzzling, but it's about anything that you need to say, that God has given you the authority to speak to the mountain. Then you need to speak to it. But you have to believe that you have that authority in you, that God-given authority, that Christ in you has given you the power, the dunamis, and the exousia. The dunamis is the miraculous working power. The exousia is the authority of God to speak to it and tell it. It may come back. Like the enemy even came back to Jesus after 40 days. But you have the authority. You do not have to be tormented. You do not have to be bothered. You do not have to put up with things. A lot of things are going on in our lives because we are putting up with and tolerating. But Jesus rebuked the wind and the waves. He cursed the fig tree. And when he told me to do that, it reminded me not to go ham, because a lot of people think of spiritual warfare as, you know, you're going after everything. No, you don't need to fight anything that's not coming against you and that God doesn't give you jurisdiction over. So you don't go looking for a fight, but within your sphere of influence, in your household, in the influence and the authority area that God has given you, even if it's over nations, whatever he's ordained you to do, to pray for, to be, do, or have, then you have a right to speak to that. And the enemy keeps us so focused on trying to deal with him on his level that we forget our authority. And God reminded me, and so I spoke to that and said, peace, be still. And so I just wanted to share that with you and encourage you that there's something that you need to speak to. There is something that you need to operate in your authority over, that the enemy may be, you may be going back and forth with him, but you don't have to do that. And I don't say that in a prideful way or, you know, in a foolish manner, because Jude tells us that we are to say, the Lord rebuke you, Satan, that we are to deal with principalities and powers in Christ and in that covering, and not to get into spiritual warfare where we create casualties and harm to ourselves because we're dealing with dignitaries and things that we don't, principalities and powers in heavenly places. And so we are seated in Christ Jesus, but you have to know that you don't just go disrupting things that you don't have, that the like they told Jesus, like they told who was it when it said, Paul I know, but who are you? And so you want to make sure that you're just not haphazardly going after things, and you're opening up yourself and your life and opening up doors to spiritual attacks. But when you have authority, when God has given you authority, that's what I want to make clear. You don't want to just start fighting battles of God that God didn't tell you to fight, to open yourself up to spiritual attacks. But you have authority over your life, over your mind, over your family, over the influences and the things that go on. And so you don't have to tolerate the foolishness of the devil. You can command it to go. You can command the elements. You can speak to things. And so I hope this bless you. God bless you. Until next time.